All right, guys. Looking at the next section, we're skipping 7.2 and going to 7.3. This one's all about different income statements. So some of you, how many of you have had tax returns like W-2s and all that stuff sent to you from working jobs? Okay, some of you have. All right, so some of it might look familiar. For those of you who've never seen any of that come home for working jobs, I mean, this is going to be very brand new for you guys. Okay, but our goal for today is to interpret and use pay information on pay stubs, W-2s, and 1099s. So we're going to look at some of those different tax forms that you get every year. All right, so the first form is the W-4. This is Employees Withholding Allowance Certificate, which sounds very fancy and difficult. This is employers withholding the deductions and sending the amount to the appropriate government agency. So your employer will automatically take the money out of your check and send it to the correct taxes and all that location stuff that you designate them to send it to. Which is good because let's be honest, if they gave you your entire paycheck and it was up to you to make sure you paid all that, right? You wouldn't want to pay that. So they take it out ahead of time and then they send it to where it needs to go for you, which is better because oh, it's your vocab. So very possibly. Right. Employers withhold the deductions and send the amount to the appropriate government agency. As you guys get older, married, kids, all that good stuff, they always ask like how many dependents you claim, and how many dependents you claim kind of changes what percentage of the money they take out of your check. Okay, so that's something you need to think about as you get older, whether you're claiming it all, because the more you claim, the less they take out of your paycheck, because they assume you need more of it to take care of your dependents. But a lot of times then you may end up owing in taxes at the end of the year. So you got to be very careful with that. Yeah. No, that's not why they have 20 kids. Noah?
So I got my job last December. My mom claimed me dependent. It's been like a year. Can I still claim dependent because I technically won't be 18 by the time taxes?
If your mom claims you, you cannot claim yourself. Yeah, so that's something you have to work out with your parents. All right, and then the W-2s, this is probably the most common one that you guys have heard of before. Your W-2s is your wage and tax statement. So every time you work a job, this is what you use to fill out all your tax forms when you file your taxes every year. You use your W-2. It is a statement listing all withholding data for the year. Okay, so it's going to say like how much money you've made for the year, how much you've paid in taxes and Social Security and federal tax, state tax, city tax. It's going to like bring all that down for you. So then when you file your taxes, like, you know, H&R Block, TurboTax, you take it to somebody and they do it for you. That's what they use to fill out all your tax info. All right, employers are required to provide your W-2s by the end of January. And I know some employers are hard-pressed to get all that info out to you in time, but it is by law they have to have it to you by the end of January. When's the tax filing deadline? April 15th. So, and you must submit a copy of your W-2s when you file your taxes, because people who commit tax fraud, you know, change the numbers on there. Don't do that. Honestly, if you're not, when you file your taxes, if you don't itemize your deductions, like, you know, I donated this much to charity and I did this and I did that, like if you're just like, here's my W-2s, here's what I paid, give me my refund, then it's really easy because they're like, okay, write down the number from box 1. Place the number from box 3 here. Like, it's pretty easy. They tell you exactly every box on those things, and we'll look at those. They're all numbered. So it makes a little, they try to make it foolproof, right? They try. Noah, you may want to take yours to somebody and let them do it for you. I've been audited before. Now, hey guys, real quick, just got brought up about being audited. If you do your own taxes, then you are responsible for any fees, penalties, anything that might come out of being audited if you can't prove everything that you claimed. But if a professional, like if you go to H&R Block and they do it for you, or another tax place, they are responsible for any mistakes made. So that is one good thing about taking it somewhere else. Yeah. Okay. Do you not pay taxes when you're not 18? Pretty sure you do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do. Right, but if you look at your pay stubs, they still take out taxes. It for filing tax returns and all that stuff, it depends if your parents claim you or if you claim you. My guess is your parents are still claiming you. Yeah, so it's up to them to take care of all that. All right, and then there's a Form 1099. Does all the money you make in a year come from a job that you make? What was the very first chapter we did in here? Stocks. Do you earn money from stocks? Yeah, but that's not a job, so that wouldn't show up on a W-2. So something like that shows up on a 1099. Where they get all these names, I really don't know. 1099. A form you would receive instead of a W-2. Income made from interest on bank accounts, stocks, royalties, and providing a service as your own employer are examples of when you receive a 1099. For example, if you're somebody who babysits, right? You do babysitting in your home, that's a job that you have, you'd have a 1099 for that. Because there's not an employer who's paying you. A lot of people do. Reason being, I had a babysitter when we lived in Findlay who did not pay taxes. Like, she didn't actually claim it to the government or anything like that. And when she does that, I can't claim it on my taxes that I paid that much in child care. So then I don't get a tax break for it. So then I switched to a babysitter who did claim it, and she had like a special like ID number with the government. Then she claimed it, she had to pay taxes on it, but that allowed me to claim it on mine as well, and then I get a tax break for paying child care. So people want their babysitters to claim it, because then they can deduct it on your own taxes. Yeah.
So, like, would this come from, like, under the table work too?
If it's under the table, meaning you're not, under the table means you're not reporting it to the government. So it would not show up on a 1099. Like when I was a waitress in high school, all my tips, they never cared about them. They're like, just keep them. We don't want to know you have them. It was all under the table. None of that was reported to the government. So I did not get a 1099 for that because that was never reported.
Just think about what you did.
Right. I know. You got to be careful with that under the table stuff. Like, if they find out about stuff like that, you can get in trouble for that. Cole? That would show up here as well. Yeah, because if you win money gambling, all that goes to the government. Nice. Slots or playing games? Slots. See, I hate slots because they're, I don't know about you guys, but like those slot machines, you look at them, you pull it, and you like, all this stuff shows up on the screen, and you're like, oh, you won. I'm like, I don't even know how I won. Like, there's like 9 symbols on the screen, and like showing all these lines. Like, I don't know what just happened. You know what I mean? I just don't know. That's awesome. Good for her. Yeah.
She passed away. When she passed away, she had a bunch of money in her house from gambling, and we still can't find it to this day.
She hid it somewhere.
She hid it, and
That's funny.
we don't know.
Noah?
So this is cool. You know how they do it?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay taxes today until you make up to $5,000. So you get $5,000 on tax.
Yeah. All right, here we go, guys. Example 1. Here's where all the math starts coming in. We ready? Yeah, we are. All right. Barbara started a new job, wants to verify that her net pay has been computed correctly. Guys, come on. We got a lot of math to compute today. Compute? All right. Her gross pay per pay period is $269.75. So what does it mean by gross pay? Without taxes. That's just like her hourly times how many hours she works. Okay. She has the following deductions. All right. What's the FICA? What's that? What is that? That's your Social Security. That's Social Security. All right, Social Security is 6.2%, Medicare 1.45%, federal tax withholding of $47.51, state withholding tax $16.62, retirement insurance contribution $9, disability insurance fee $2.56, medical insurance fee $12, and dental insurance fee $6. This is real world, guys. That's ridiculous, right? But this is real world. I think you guys need a little bit of an eye opener for some of you. The money you make per hour is not at all what you bring home. Okay? So what should her net pay be? Net pay is take out all the taxes and everything. So what's the first thing I need to actually figure out? Because two of those have percentages up there. We need to figure out what those are. And that actually takes us back to last chapter, right? We did a lot of that in last chapter. So let's do her Social Security first. So you could. All right, so Social Security is 269.75 times 0.062. And then Medicare is going to be the 269.75 times 0.0145. All right, so because they gave you all of our deductions, but two of them were percentages, so we need to figure out what those dollar amounts are. Guys, I feel like I only have about half of you on board with me right now. Okay, I need you guys to focus, all right? All right, so what about her Social Security? It'd be $16.72. Medicare is going to be $3.91. So altogether, what's her total of deductions right now? How much money altogether is being taken out of her check? All right, so guys, let's talk real quick. What are her total deductions? Guys, stop speaking. We have both of these are being deducted, but then you also have that one and this one, and there's a $9 and a $256 and 12 and 6. All of that's being deducted. Tyler. That's what I have. 114.32. Yep, we just added up to figure out all of her deductions first. So $114.32. I just added up the Social Security, the Medicare, and then all of those other amounts that are listed up there. Okay, yeah. To answer the second question, yes, but we haven't answered the first one yet. So the question up here, though, asked, what should her net pay be? These are her total deductions. How do you figure out her net pay? Yeah, take how much she makes, subtract off all of her deductions. So what is her net pay? Good. Wait. 155 what? I have 43. Did you have her total deductions as 114.32? Oh, since you did your percentages together, it was off by a penny because of rounding. That'd be why. Show me your work and I'll let it fly. All right, so her net pay is only $155.43. That's real life, though. I mean, that's sad, but that's real life. All right, questions on that part? We just took all of her deductions and we subtracted that off of how much she makes. All right, the second part asks, what percentage of Barbara's gross pay for this pay period accounts for all of her deductions? Now, be careful. Guys, we're going to go back and forth. Mario, are you with me? We're going to go back and forth on different questions, asking slightly different questions here. This one wants the percentage for her deductions. There may be a question where I ask, what is the percentage of what she brings home? So you got to watch what it's asking for. So all of her deductions were 114.32. Out of a total, what was her total pay to begin with? 269.75. You're going to have to multiply that by 100 for those of you who don't do that in your head very well, because we want a percentage. And what percentage is it? 42. 42.4%. So 42.4% of her entire paycheck is deductions. Isn't it? It's close to half of her check is gone. But I mean, when you become an adult and you're on your own, I mean, you got to pay for your insurance and retirement. I mean, it all comes out. That's against the law. Do they pay all this? Yeah, I mean, they do too. But they make a lot more money, so. Yeah, to them to take out 114 bucks, like pocket change. Yeah. That was all of our total deductions. So when we added up all the stuff that's taken out of her paycheck, we added all those up. All right. We should. All right. Example 2. It's massive. It's got lots of parts to it. But I made sure I gave you one like this because it shows up on homework tonight. I wanted to make sure I show you one. That way when you're working on homework, you have something you can refer back to. You know I have to do my job and teach you, right? So, stop speaking. Before you dig yourself a hole, stop speaking. Thank you, whoever just said it's not that hard. Jessica, thank you. All right, guys, here we go. Leslie works for Blank Corporation. Her annual salary is $57,285.50. Okay, now, guys, I need you to always pay attention when you're reading. I know a lot of you don't read real carefully. That is annual salary. Because sometimes I'll give you the weekly or the bi-weekly or the monthly. Like, you got to pay attention to what's given. So that's for the year. What is Leslie's annual Social Security deduction? All right. So on here and on homework tonight, we're going to use Social Security as 6.2%, and we're going to use Medicare as 1.45%. Those are the most. We're not going to worry about maximum right now. We're going to assume everyone's underneath the max. Okay, good question. We're going to assume everyone's under the max, so we don't have to worry about when they max out and stuff like that. All right, so here we go. What is Leslie's annual Social Security deduction? So how do I figure out her annual deduction? Good. We're just going to multiply that by 0.062 because it just asks for the annual deduction. I don't have to worry about monthly or anything like that. So for the year, what did we find? I disagree. It should be in 70 cents on the end of that. Okay. I just want to make sure, at any point, if I'm going too fast or you don't understand what I did, please stop me, okay? All right, so we just did her annual Social Security deduction. The next one, her annual Medicare deduction. So same process. We're just going to go ahead and multiply her annual salary times 0.0145. Noah? I strongly disagree. $830.64.
Oh, I messed up my decimals.
Oh, Noah. You and your decimals. All right, part C. Leslie is paid every other week. What is his bi-weekly gross pay? How do you figure that out? Divide by what? 26. Bi-weekly, there's 26 pays. So you're going to take the $57,285.50 and divide that by 26. So $2,203.29. Bless you. All right, so far, have any of these computations been very hard? No, they've been pretty straightforward stuff we've already practiced doing. All right, D. Each pay period, Leslie's employer deducts $418.63 for federal withholding tax. What percentage of Leslie's yearly salary is deducted for federal withholdings? Now, be very careful. This is talking about each pay period and yearly. It's got both things in there. So if they deduct $418.63 each pay period, how much do they deduct for the year? You have to multiply that by 26. So we're going to have to do 418.63, multiply it by 26, because it's asking about yearly salary, not each pay period. So we get 10,884.38. But it wants to know the percentage. What percentage is that of the yearly salary? So what do I do with that number? That's how much is being taken out for federal tax for the year. There it is. Divide that by how much he makes for the year. Because I want to know, like, what percent of that is that of his salary. So we're going to divide that by 57,285.50. Tyler? You could do that. I just want to prove the point, though. Be careful if it's talking yearly versus pay period. Okay. So that's 19%. Questions so far? All right. Part E. If Leslie is taxed at an annual rate of 3.65% for city tax, how much is deducted from his salary per paycheck for city tax? So since it's asking per paycheck, what dollar figure do I need to work with off my board? What color is it? C. It's blue, right here. This is how much he makes for each paycheck. That's all right. I knew what you meant. All right, so we have to use the 2,203.29. And we're going to multiply that by your tax rate, so 0.0365. But you see how we need to be careful what it's talking about, whether it's talking your annual salary or each pay period. It jumps back and forth between them. So city taxes, each pay period, $80.42. Cool. And then divided it by 26. Same idea. Yeah, there's more than one way that you can attack these. Okay. Part F. Leslie's net pay for each pay period, $1,347.34. What percent of his biweekly gross pay is deducted from his salary to yield this net pay amount? All right, so let's talk about, so each pay period, this is how much he brings home. So this is his bring home every pay period. Okay, so what percent of his biweekly gross pay is deducted? So how much is he losing every week from his paycheck? Subtract them. This is how much he's grossing. This is how much he's bringing home. So let's subtract those. So 2,203.29. Subtracting his actual net. So we can try to figure out how much is he actually losing every paycheck. $855.95. So that's how every paycheck That much money is going to taxes and everything else. Now, the question, though, we didn't answer it yet. The question asked what percent is deducted from his salary. So what do I have to do with that amount? Yes. Take his deductions. We're going to divide that by his biweekly, which is the 2203. Okay. Anytime you're wanting a percentage, you need to figure out percentage of what. We're talking deductions. We found the deductions, and then divide that by the original amount. That's the way it always works for those. And that is 39%. 39% of each paycheck is gone. It's frightening. Did you not get 39%? I rounded to the nearest percent. I didn't specify on my directions, so if you would have given me to the nearest tenth, that'd been fine. All right, part G, as of January 1st, Leslie will receive a 12.5% raise. What will Leslie's new annual salary be? Yeah, take the previous salary. So they was making $57,285.50. What am I going to multiply that by? He remembered my shortcut. 1.125. If you'd multiplied it by 0.125, you would get how much his raise is, and then you'd have to add that on top of what he did make to figure out his new salary. You'd have, yeah. So I'm doing it in one step. That's what Justin remembered. I talked about that once before. Otherwise, if you just do it by 0.125, that's totally fine. You're going to get the raise amount, and then you have to add that back onto his salary. Yeah, you can do it either way. You should get $64,446.19. Again, you can multiply it by 0.125, then you have to add that back on. I'm just lazy and did it one step. How are we doing so far? Okay. All right, and then part H, if the percentage of his biweekly deductions remains the same, what is his percentage of the deductions? Did we find that already? 39%, the deductions on biweekly. What should Leslie's new net pay be for each pay period? So if that's his new salary, how much will he make per pay period? What do I have to figure out? I got to divide that by 26. Because now he's making 19 for the year. Let's divide that by 26 to find each pay period. I did it different on my paper, sorry, so I have to do it this way. 2,478.70. That's going to be the pay, each pay period now. The question wants to know, what would the new net pay be if my deductions stayed the same? Well, we found the deductions earlier was 39%. Yep, so you multiply this by the 39%. So 966.69. So he's only going to bring home $966? What's the 966 represent? That's his deductions. I need to subtract that. Yeah, so we need to subtract that from his pay. So the 2478.70 minus the 966.69. Again, there's different ways you could have attacked this problem, okay? So his net pay now is $1,512.01. So he was bringing home $1,347 with his raise. Now he's bringing home $1,512. Okay, that's a good raise. All right, I know that was a lot, but how are we feeling? Step by step. Be careful if it talks about annual salary, if we're talking about your biweekly. It goes back and forth between the two. This is a long section, I know.
Number 3 is Easy News Hands.
All right, example 3. Examine Lorna's biweekly pay stub. Assuming that Lorna's salary and deductions remain the same throughout the calendar year, how much will be taken out of her total annual gross salary for federal and state taxes? All right, so let's take a look at what we got going on over here, because there's a lot of information that I don't need most of it. Okay, so if we look up here, this is talking about her pay period from March 15th to March 28th. This is how much she made just in this pay period. What's YTD stand for? Year to date, meaning altogether thus far this year, this is how much she's made. Okay, these are gross amounts. And then it's deductions. Social Security, Medicare, federal tax, state tax. Again, this paycheck, this was taken out. This is year to date. So far for the year, this is how much has been taken out altogether. Okay, adjustments. We also had union dues, family health insurance, and retirement, stuff that she's also having taken out, and then year to date. But we need to make sure we're clear on how to read these things. First column is just this paycheck. Second column is everything thus far this year. Okay, how far into the year are we? 3 months. We're not that far, right? This is in March. It's in March. Yeah. No, we're in November, but this is March. All right, so the question asked, assuming her salary and deductions remain the same, how much will be taken out of her total annual gross salary for federal and state? So what's the only part I have to look at? Federal and state. Do I want for this pay period or so far this year? This pay period. So for this pay period, hold on, because this is asking for the entire year. We're not all the way through the year yet on her pay stub. So for this pay period, we need to total those up. So right now, altogether from this paycheck, $1,282.36. That's how much has come out this pay period for federal and state taxes combined. Right? This is federal and state. All right, so if that's how much has come out this year, the question asked how much will be the total annual for all of those. So how often is she paid? Biweekly. So how many times will this come out of her paycheck? 26. Multiply that by 26. Because every paycheck, this is much is coming out on federal and state. So it wants to know how much will be taken out of her total annual gross salary. Annual, meaning for the entire year, how much is coming out. So we multiply that, and we get $33,341.36. Look at that. For the year. That's just in federal and state taxes. That's frightening. Yeah. Could be a not so nice house. All right, example 4. All right, on January 30th, Joanne Toscano received this W-2 form from her employer. How much did Joanne pay in taxes during the year? All right, now this is what a typical W-2 looks like. Okay, when you get these, notice how every box has either a letter or a number in it. Because when you're filling out tax forms, it refers to box number such and such. Okay, so it makes it really easy to know which box we're talking about. All right, so we're looking at how much did she pay in taxes. So looking through here, what all taxes do I need to look for? Because if you look, we have Social Security number would go up here. Your employer has a unique identification number with the government, which is always on there. Wages, tips, and other compensation. That's how much you're making for the year. Then you have Social Security wages. Because I want to make sure we're clear, we're going to start seeing on some examples, these numbers will differ. How much you make and how much Social Security or Medicare is taxing you on changes. Okay? And we'll talk about that in another example coming up. Some other stuff's going to be in some of these other boxes, so we'll talk about that. But we have federal income tax withheld. There's a tax we need to look at. Social Security tax withheld. This is actually not considered a tax when it's asking for the total amount of taxes. It is not including Social Security. Okay? If you look down here, you have state wages and tips, again, are down here in box 16. Then you have state income tax, and you have local income tax. Where are you going, Jessica?
This is my food.
Where's your note?
I don't have one for random one because I know that you need to have one for this is my food.
Okay. Go sign out in the office. All right. So guys, it wants to know how much does she pay in taxes for the year. So what do I have to do? Add them all up. Okay, add them all up. How much does she pay? Yep, these are all my taxes. It does not include Social Security tax. Okay. So, but in federal, state, and local taxes, how much did she pay? This is the interactive part where you guys figure it out and I tell you whether you're right or wrong. This is not just sit and get. Thank you. $22,287.50. No, the board is dumb sometimes. Be careful, Cole. Cole, be careful. I was answering the top question. Well, right here. How much did she pay in taxes? That's how much. I'm sorry. What percent of Joanne's gross income did she actually take home? Let's forget about the Social Security for the time being. Okay, that's a whole nother ball of wax right now. But what percentage then, other than the taxes, did she actually get? So we need to take her gross pay, the $76,350, subtract off all the taxes taken out. Right, we're going to subtract off the taxes. I'm losing you, which is $54,062.50. And we're going to divide that by, I have to divide it first. How did you do the percentage? She's bringing home this much out of how much did she start with? The $76,350. Yeah, and then multiply that by 100 for your percentage. So 70.8%. Okay, but for percentages, guys, whatever it's asking for a percentage of what? Figure out, okay, how much does she have after taking out taxes? Take that number, divide it by how much the total she started with. It's always divided by the total. Divided by the total, divided by the total. Okay? It's a big section. All right. Yeah, you miss one part of it, then everything afterwards is wrong. All right, example 5. Amy Springfield works for Pound Ridge Financial Planners. Her employer uses an electronic W-2 form as shown at the right. What accounts for the difference between her wages listed in box 1 and her Social Security and Medicare wages in boxes 3 and 5? This is where I mentioned earlier that sometimes these numbers differ. And you always wonder, why are they different? Like, if I made this much, why am I only taxed on a different amount of that? What's going on? Because if you look right up here, here's how much she made for the year that she's being taxed on, by federal taxes, state taxes. Sam, that is not learning math. Stop braiding her hair. All right, then if you look, Social Security and Medicare wages is different. How much higher is it? How much more is the Social Security and Medicare wages? I want a number.
84.
Wrong. Thank you, Robert. We're looking at a difference of $13,200. The difference between these two numbers. Just subtract them. Yep. We're looking for the difference because the question's asking us what accounts for the difference. Well, first of all, how much difference was it? $13,200. Why is it a difference of $13,200? Look at that W-2 form. Do you see somewhere on there that you can make up the difference of $13,200? I was comparing how much my wages were versus the Medicare and Social Security number. I just subtracted those two. I was trying to figure out the difference between them. I'm the wrong one. Yeah, okay. So look at that W-2. Is there something on there? Tyler? Yes. Look at this, guys. This one and this one. Those are boxes we didn't see in that last example with stuff in them. If I total those together, I get 13,200. Okay? Now let's talk about what all this means. Okay? Because there's a lot of differences going on here. All right, so I have some vocab stuff down here. I already went ahead and printed out for you. What's happening is she's making tax-deferred contributions. I love how I have the attention of not even half of you. Don't come whining to me when you have a quiz on Friday and you don't know how to do any of this. Tax-deferred contributions, this is money placed in a qualified retirement account. Taxes on the money are deferred until she actually withdraws it when she retires. Okay, so what's happening is she's taken money, this 12,200 and the 1,000. These two values are taken out of her pay, and she's not getting taxed federal tax on them. You still get Social Security tax and Medicare taxed on it, but federal and state taxes and all that is not taken on that. If you guys have ever heard of tax deferred, you've heard your parents maybe mention that before, tax deferred. Noah?
So I have a question. If you do the tax deferred and the tax goes down a percentage, so you get taxed less and keep more money, or does it keep the old tax number?
It's going to, when they're doing federal taxes and state taxes, they're using the lower number for those. Social Security and Medicare is going to use whatever it was, the amount of money you made that year. Okay? But the reason people do this is so that they get less taxes taken out. But that money is not money just sitting in an account they can use anytime they want. It's going into like retirement funds. It's going into like some of this other stuff. The cafeteria plan and flexible spending accounts. Because cafeteria plan, I've not really heard that word as much as flexible spending accounts. Let's talk about what these are. Cafeteria plan is held back portions of pre-tax wages. So they take the money out of your salary before they tax you. Okay, so you're not taxed on it. For the payment of certain medical issues, child care, parental care, non-reimbursed medical stuff. So you can take a portion of your paycheck, and you can say, I want that taken out pre-tax, and it goes into an account, which is called a flexible spending account. This account, your employer sponsors it, so it has to go through wherever you're working. You can choose to deposit funds that are used for the sole purpose of this stuff up here. Like you can't take it out to go buy a car. You can't take that money out to go shopping. Okay, it's not allowed. And you get a special card, like a debit card, that will say that it's a flexible spending account and you can only use it for those purposes. Okay, but the problem is you will have to use that money in a 1-year span. If you don't use all of it, you lose it. It's gone. So people do this because if you know, like you have kids and you know you're going to spend so much in childcare every year, I can figure out what that amount is, put it in that account, and then I don't get charged taxes on that. So it saves me tax money being taken out of my paycheck. But the problem is, let's say you don't have kids and you're like, I may spend this much money on medical expenses. Let's say at the end of the year you've not spent all that money. It's gone. You don't get it back. To the government. They're going to get it from you one way or another, right? Xavier?
So like, I can only spend that stuff on stuff that like is that I need, like healthcare stuff.
Like, prescription drugs or like diapers for your kids, child care, medical bills, like you go to the doctor and they give you a bill, you could use it for that. Like I had an account like this when I taught in Findlay, And I use my money in this account when I had my kids. I use it for all the medical expenses and all the doctor bills for stuff like that. Cool? Are they bigger? Oh. Okay. You couldn't read that? I thought that was a pretty good size. I made that big. I'm sorry. I hope you can read them. If not, let me know, and I'll fill them in bigger for you. Okay. So, guys, one of the things as you're looking through homework and stuff tonight, looking at all the W-2s, you need to look for is information numbers down in here. The total of these values will be the difference that you're seeing up here. So anytime you're deferring tax-deferred money out of your account like that, that's why this number is lower, because this is what your federal taxes is being based on. But Social Security and Medicare is on your actual amount of money that you made, regardless if you had it taken out pre-tax or not. Okay, Noah?
So if I get like a supplemental income, can I use it on insurance just for me because I don't have insurance and I can't get insurance?
You can't use it to pay for your insurance.
So you can't use it to buy insurance to pay for your medical bills?
No, instead of you putting it away tax deferred, you'd want to use that money to buy insurance. But you can use it on medical bills. But I don't believe you can use it to pay for insurance. I don't believe. I'd have to look at it. I don't know that for sure, but I don't believe so. All right, example 6. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. I know. We do. Sorry. Some of them are fast. Some of them are fast. All right. Example 6. Amy pays 20% federal tax, and 7% state tax. How much did she save in taxes by putting money in her tax-deferred and flexible spending accounts? So again, take a look at her W-2. She has the amount up here, which is lower than the amounts down here, because she took that money and she pulled that out pre-tax, so she was not taxed on that amount of it. So if Amy pays 20% and 7%, can I combine those and say that she's paying 27%? Yes, I can. All right, so I want to know how much did she save. So I need to figure out what is her percentage before she took that money out. What's the percentage after she took it out? We'll see the difference. Okay, so let's do 27%. Okay, so what is her actual salary? Nope. 92,100. Because Social Security and Medicare is based on your actual salary. Not added. It does it on both. And then up top, the wages, tips, other compensation, that's how much the government is taxing you on. It's taking out the stuff you had taken out pre-tax. Yeah, so that top box, federal and state taxes, all that's based on that number. Social Security, Medicare is based on how much you actually made. So 27% here, 24,867. Noah, go back to your seat. You can see just fine back there. And then if I do 27% of, what's the next number I'm going to use? Good, 78,900. Good. Again, before we actually finish this problem, I want to make sure you're clear on what we just did. 20% federal, 7% state, so that's 27% altogether. This is the amount that she actually makes, because Medicare and Social Security is on your actual salary. This is how much the tax is. But the question asks, how much did she save, because she took so much money out pre-tax. So now they're only taxing her on the 78,900, which is that top box up there. So there's the difference. So how much did she save? Just subtract those. Good. She saved $3,564 for the year in taxes because she had that money taken out pre-tax. Now, granted, that $12,200 that she had put in her retirement account, when she retires and pulls that money out of that account, she pays taxes on it then. Okay? But if you didn't have it taken out pre-tax, then you'd pay taxes on it now, and you'd pay taxes on it when you retired and pulled it out of that account. So you want to pull it out pre-tax if you can. Xavier?
So that's like 20,
because that's how much she's paying. 20% federal, 7% state. I just combine them together because they didn't ask specifically, just between the two of them. So that she pays 27% of her salary goes in taxes. All right, examples 7 and 8 are actually pretty quick and easy. A taxpayer's annual Social Security tax is $3,431.70. What is the taxpayer's gross salary? What percent is Social Security? Good. We know Social Security, we said, is the 6.2%. Okay. So normally, how do we figure it out? Let's just forget this problem for a second. If I said I make this much money for the year, how much Social Security? You would take that number and you'd multiply it by the 6.2%, right? And that would equal my tax. So what do I have to actually do? I have to divide. I'm working it backwards. I'm telling you how much they got taken out in tax. Divide that then to get back to the original amount. So $55,350. Right, normally we would take your salary, multiply it by 6.2%, and that's how we figured out what the tax was. So same idea, to solve for x, you just divide by the 6.2%. You right there, Josh? Okay. Oh. All right. Example 8. A taxpayer's annual Medicare tax is $551. What is the taxpayer's gross salary? What's Medicare? That's the 1.45%. So same idea. Normally you would take how much money I make. You would multiply that by the 0.145. And it would tell me then that would equal the 551, the tax. So how do I reverse it? You divide it by 0.0145. There you go. I'll say those two parts should be fairly simple. We're almost done. Now can I say that? I created that one last night. The other ones came from the textbook. This one was all me.
Yeah, this is perfect. No, I wouldn't say perfect.
All right. Use the partial information given in the electronic W-2 form to calculate the following. So I want you to tell me what number should go in box 1, 3, 4, and 6. Wait, say that again? Yes. 3 is the same as 5. Social Security wages and Medicare is based on your total salary. So 3 should be the same. So $73,094. I disagree. I disagree. Is this number going to be higher or lower than these? It's lower. Because this is money that's taken out pre-tax. Yes. Add these two together and subtract it from these. Because that's stuff that's taken out pre-tax. That's okay. So for box 1, I'm going to take the 1,900 and I'm going to add the 4,500. So what's 1,900 plus 4,500? 6,400. That's all the money that was taken out pre-tax. So box 1 is not including that. So I'm going to take the 73,094 and subtract all of that off of there. Good. Because that, again, is your pre-taxed money. They're taking that stuff out, coming out beforehand. Because when they do federal tax and state and all of that, it's based on the pre-tax stuff being out of there. So box 4, Social Security tax withheld. Social Security tax, is that based on the box 1 or box 3? Box 3. It's based on box 3. So for box 4, we're going to do the 73,094. I did not. We're going to multiply that by the 0.062. So that is 4,531.83. And then box 6 is Medicare. Good. There's a large handful of you in here right now that I am not happy with. There are many of you who've not paid any attention today. And I really, truly feel bad for you because we are having a quiz on Friday over 7-1 and 7-3. I don't know, am I? You know if I'm talking to you or not. You know who you are. No?
So the next one, all we do is 7.3 out of 3/4 times 0.145.
Yes.
So they get,
Yep, that's what I wrote down right there. One and a comma. All right, guys, the big thing from here I need to make sure we're clear on. Social Security and Medicare, that is your total salary. Box 1, that is subtracting out anything that you're seeing down here that's taken out pre-tax. Because if I had asked you about federal income tax, like if I told you a percentage, you would multiply it by this number, not the 73,000. Because I had stuff taken out pre-tax, so I did not get taxed on everything.